I'm Liz from nightowlcrafts Australia. Today we're going to be looking at Yupo paper and techniques with alcohol inks. We'll also be looking at the new Stampin Up Dragonfly set. Yupo paper comes in two versions, an opaque, such as this one, and a translucent version. Today we're using the opaque version, and alcohol inks from Adirondack. Also blending solution, also from Adirondack. With the alcohol inks, you can just drop droplets onto the Yupo paper, and you'll notice that it gradually spreads. We can add more of various colours. If you add one colour on top of the other, you get an interesting effect. And if we apply some brighter yellow in, you can go on mixing them, just adding in and covering the white spaces. You can also use a dauber and just mix them together. Because of its slow drying time, they gradually merge in together. I'll just add a little bit of the darker colour. You can also use a card and just smear them around a little bit. Because of the paper being non-porous, it just gives you a little bit more working time. If we add in some blending solution, you get this little burst of white coming into it. If you decide that that's not what you want, you can just add more colour, or just pounce it and get rid of it altogether. It is a very flexible and adaptable type of paper. It's also possible to do complex landscapes using alcohol inks. But today we're just aiming to do a background. Yupo paper is slightly different from gloss cardstock in that it gives you that bit more time to play with the alcohol inks and manipulate them. If at some point you are not happy again with what's there, you can use some paper wipe and some alcohol or Adirondack blending solution and just wipe the colour off completely. So just applying a little bit of blending solution, and you can rub off most of the colour. If you spray a little bit of alcohol onto it, you get an interesting burst of lighter colour bubbles, which can be quite effective. Another technique you can use is to lay down some ink and then with a straw blow it. And you get interesting starbursts. To make this card and its matching envelope, the inside of which has a little dragonfly as well, I've used the Stampin Up thinlet dies called Detailed Dragonfly thinlet dies. With this die you get a large dragonfly or a medium-sized dragonfly and the little ones. For this card I've used the medium size and the little grouping of dragonflies. You also get a little bee thrown in as well. And I've also used the coordinating stamp set called Dragonfly Dreams. These dies and stamps are available from Stampin Up and from my website or shop, Libby Wilson. The details for this will be listed below. With this card I've used a 5x7 card, a slightly smaller piece of coordinating coloured cardstock, a cut out piece of the Yupo paper that we've coloured, and then cutting out a window in a piece of white card. I've cut that card to be just slightly smaller than the coloured card. You might hear some nail gunning coming from next door as they're building a house, and despite it being a public holiday, they're busy at work today. So using some adhesive, and I'm using snail adhesive from Stampin Up, We will assemble these parts of the card. The first one to go down being the coloured card. Aiming to get it central on the card with straight edges, but that's not too bad. If you find it difficult doing this, you can always put a liquid glue which gives you a little bit more wriggle room or time before it sets. We will then attach the Yupo paper to the back of the window. When you cut out the window from the white cardstock, keep the cutout bit because you can always utilise this on other cards, and we'll then adhere this section to the coloured cardstock. So we've got the base of the card ready to go, and now we just need to cut the little dragonflies. We'll now die cut out this little grouping of dragonflies using the big shot. I like to run it through twice to make sure that we've got a good cut. If there are any bits that haven't fully separated, you can just poke them out. I do find the Stampin' Up dies do cut very well, and often very intricate die cuts. I use this Spellbinder brush set, which has a brush at one end and a poking tool at the other. You can get a brush set on Stampin' Up. With the die set, if there's any little bits still left in the die, you can just poke them out as well so that it's ready to go for next time. To attach the little dragonflies onto the card, because they're fairly fine, I'm going to use a Zig two-way glue pen which has a very fine tip. Don't apply excessive amounts of glue because you don't want it to ooze out from underneath. A little dab will do you, as the saying goes. If you just apply the glue to the wing tips and sections of the body, that will be enough to hold it down, and then just position it onto the card. If any are not sticking down fully, you can always come back and put a little bit of extra glue. I'm then going to use one of the stamping sentiments from this set, and we've got a selection of "To a Wonderful Friend, enjoy your special day. You sure know how to make someone happy," or "Thanks for the smile and everything else." I'm going to use "To a Wonderful Friend." For this, I'm just going to use the Stays On black ink, getting a good covering of the ink onto the stamp, getting it the right way up helps. If you stamp with a mouse mat underneath, you often get a better stamping result, though that one's pretty good. For the inside of the card, I like to put something that relates to the front of the card. And for this, I'm going to use the medium size dragonfly and the outline cutout. Using a piece of Yupo paper that we prepared earlier, I'm going to cut out the outline of the dragonfly. So just selecting part of the Yupo paper that looks interesting. I might swap it around and use this section here. We'll put the top plate on and run it through. One thing with Yupo paper, when you do run it through, it makes a very interesting crackling sound. I'm not sure if you heard that over the sound of the nail gun next door. So there we've got the background part of the dragonfly, and onto that we've got cut in black cardstock with using this die the intricate wings, which will then adhere to the inside of the card, leaving the wings unattached, just gluing the body part on to give it a sense of movement. Using the zig glue pen again, just going down the length of the body and around the wings. Just enough to hold it down, you don't need to smother it in glue. And we'll attach that to the inside of the card, leaving room to write in the card. And then we'll attach the black portion, leaving the wings free, so just gluing the body part. And you just want to match the underlying coloured part, pressing down. I'm going to apply the Wink of Stella clear over the body of the butterfly. I think this gives it a little bit more life and interest. You could, if you wished, go over all the veining of the wings as well, but I'm just going to stop with the body. Don't forget, when you're making cards, always on the back put your moniker, something that identifies this card as being from you. When making cards, it's good to always decorate the envelope as well with something that relates to the card inside. With this envelope, I've used the intricate dragonfly stamp from the Stampin' Up set. I've stamped it using black StazOn, and then I've used colours from the Stampin' Up range, Emerald Envy, Daffodil Delight and Cajun Craze to add some colour to the wings. And after that's dried, I've also put a little bit of the Wink of Stella over it as well. So using the black StazOn, give a good covering. You will find that the stamps discolour slightly over time, particularly if you're using StazOn inks, but it won't do the stamp any harm and they're still quite usable. Checking which way's up with the envelope. Giving a good press down over the entire dragonfly. There are a few little patches that didn't fully take, but that won't matter once we start colouring. Now to apply the inks, when you first open them, or before you first open them, give them a squeeze to lay down some of the colour from the pad onto the lid of the stamp, like so. And using a water brush, we then just pick up a little bit of colour from the lid and apply it onto the dragonfly. Because we've used Stays On ink, it won't run, the black part outline of the dragonfly won't run when we apply the watercolour. If I use a little bit of paper towel and a squirt of squeeze the barrel of the water pen, it gets rid of the existing colour, and we can then go on and apply a different colour. Using the water pen, you can apply lighter or darker amounts of the ink. And that's Mac the cat, who's decided she wants out again. Mac is a very in again, out again cat, as many are. And apply some yellow. If it's a little bit too bright, you can water it down a little bit more. If the stamp hasn't fully taken, you can just use a black pen and fill in the sections that are missing. That will do. Some Wink of Stella over the wings in sections to give some interest and a sense of life to the dragonfly. So these products from Stampin' Up, the Dragonfly set and the dies, the stamp set and the dies, can all be purchased online from my shop. If you go to Stampin' Up Australia and select Libby Wilson as your demonstrator, it'll take you to my shop where you can purchase any of these. The stamp set bought individually and the die set bought individually do cost more. If you bundle them together, it reduces the price for each. And I think you will agree that they make quite a fetching card set. This has been Liz from nightowlcrafts Australia. We hope that you enjoyed this video and will subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Tosh, my able assistant, who's been telling me off for constantly using the word little bit. So I am under the task now of avoiding using bits in any of my future videos. And thanks for watching nightowlcrafts Australia. Until next time. Across the wing to give a little bit I'm not doing it deliberately. And across the wing to give some sparkle. Okay. Is it running? A little bit of the oh dear. Oh, Tosh, you'll have to take it over. How can it be that bit has become such a thing? You always say bit throughout all of them, but I've never picked you up before. Oh, I wish you had have. Oh dear.